Hello, Mary.
Hey Scott, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
I haven't seen you in forever. It's good to see
I
you.
know.
Good to
It's
see
been a
you.
busy spring. What's that?
Uh, Business is good?
Yeah, fantastic. We've been extremely busy.
Excellent. Excellent.
We launched in Walmart last year, and now we're past the testing stages, and we're adding warehouses and going coast to coast.
That's great news. That's
Yeah,
awesome, Scott.
thank you.
Very cool.
How about you? How's everything? Your hubby been flying around the neighborhood here lately?
He has been. Actually, he's been working on annuals. Every year they have to tear kind of the airplanes and helicopters apart and do maintenance checks on it. So, he I think he's got one flyable airplane right now, but the other two are in the process of getting inspected.
Still have the helicopter?
Um, Only one. He had two. Um, he ended up selling the Bell 47, which is kind of like the MASH
Yeah.
helicopter, but he still got the white one. It's Hughes 269 that he still got.
It's white?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for it.
Okay. Is Catherine there? Can you hear us? You need to unmute yourself so I can hear you. Maybe.
She needs to change up her picture. It's all the way back from COVID.
Yeah.
I gotta shut up line. I got sunlight coming through like crazy.
Catherine, are you there? And Sierra, you are taking over for Tracy at Acton Agudosy News.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. It all changed. My computer, I mean, my iPad, as well as my printer that committed suicide, this did too. I was on with Verizon. They were telling me to do all this stuff. I ended up fixing it myself. They gave me all the wrong information. And while he's talking, I'm playing, and I said, I fixed it. He's trying to sell me a new iPad. And he said, "What did you do?" And I told him. He said, "Well, I've never heard of that before."
Crazy.
Yeah, but it works. But my printer is still, we're going to have a burial ceremony.
Well, I appreciate you getting a hold of Cindy to get the agenda posted. That was great.
Yeah, she was a hero. I was so glad that worked out.
Good.
I would assume she's there somewhere. And he's right. I thought of that the other day. I need to change that. It is the COVID picture, but hey, I don't care.
It's the
Yeah, we're
COVID
trying to
pitch.
put that way behind us at this point.
Oh,
I know,
for sure.
but
But
it's a gruesome reminder.
the mask is kind of cute because it's got your puppies on it.
Yeah, rocket. Oh, so I guess you're back.
Yes, I am back. I got back about an hour and a half ago.
Oh my goodness.
So
Did you
just
have the wind out there like we did here?
we did it died down after Sunday, but Saturday and Sunday was pretty darn windy out there.
Yeah. Okay. What time is it? I don't know. Oh, 20.
Yeah, we're still a little early.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized since I fixed it, all the things that were on top and now they're on the bottom. That's why I couldn't find the mute button. It was always on top. Now it's on the bottom. I don't care. It works. That's all I care about.
There you go.
Well, make you feel any better. I constantly touch things and lose things and go, why is that format changed?
Scott, is that really
Right.
you?
I know. I know.
I Googled your obituary.
Oh, the love in the room is fantastic.
We missed you.
Did you get your new truck?
I did get a new truck.
Well, you told me at the parade you were getting a new truck.
You have a good memory. I got one like a couple weeks after that.
Yeah, if that's what you said.
Yeah. I feel like it's almost time for another one now. There's so many miles on this one already.
Wow. Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure
I think it's
my
already at like 50,000.
okay, 100 more and you'll be with mine.
Won't take long.
No, I guess not.
Hey, Cindy, is that you?
It is. Hi, Mary.
Good to see you. And I've made you co-host, so you should be good to go.
Fantastic. Thank you. And always a pleasure to help out.
Thank you.
And she has a great printer.
Yes, Cindy, thanks for printing that agenda out so that Catherine could get it posted.
Not a problem. Very happy to help. So I know when those things happen, it's nice to have a secondary response. I know I would have been tripping. What do you mean my printer's not working?
Oh no, it's dead, Cindy.
Well, it
It's
takes a village.
yeah. The electrician is coming tomorrow. Yay. I'm just glad there wasn't a fire. Because that would have been
That sounds like something I need to catch up with you tomorrow. The new drama on the ranch.
no, I wasn't at the ranch. I was with the doctors today and getting depressed. So that was fun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Scott, what are all those plaques behind you?
Oh my gosh. Back in my earlier sales days, I used to be somebody. Those are some sales awards from 2000, 1998, one of them,
All right.
through uh, 98 through 2002.
Okay. Where's our fearless leader, Don?
He forgot us. Oh, and you got the note from Rosie because I was supposed to call Rosie today, which I did to remind her that it was today, but she can't come because she just got out of the hospital again.
Huh.
That poor girl. It's always something with her.
Yeah. She fell. She had a bad fall and her blood
Oh no.
dropped to like 40 and they rushed her to ER. But then they got her bounced back and they brought her back home last night. So that was good.
With a
But
broken nose.
ugh,
Ugh,
At
I
least it
know.
wasn't a hip.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's
very true.
true.
She probably has two black eyes now, though.
I'll bet she does. I'll bet
Oh,
she
that's
does.
probably why she didn't want to be on Zoom. She's got the raccoon.
Broken nose can lead to black eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right.
And then she'll be telling everybody about the big fist fight she was in.
Right.
How she went over to Acton to change her address and fought everybody over there.
Yeah. That's a good story.
That is a good story.
Yeah.
10 years ago it would have been true.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely
probably.
right.
Oh,
And you know what?
her and the Acton Town Council did not get along.
And even given things the way things are now, she'd be right there for that fight again.
Yeah.
She would be.
Yeah. I
Um,
think Candy's here.
I think Candy's here, and
oh,
I
look
see
at Don.
Don.
There he is.
Okay, you're muted, Don. Unmute yourself.
Still muted, Don. There
Uh,
you
and
go.
I joined the party now.
All
Magic.
right.
All right. Am I coming through okay?
Loud and
Yeah.
clear.
Perfect. Okay. Wow. Looks like it's just on time too, about 6:31.
Okay.
How we doing? Looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we've got oh yeah. All right. So what do you think, Mary? Is it time?
I think it's time.
Okay. Will the meeting of the Agua Dulce Town Council please come to order? This is our administrative portion of the meeting held May 8th, 2024. First, I'd like to have the roll call called, please.
All right, Don Henry,
Here.
Chris Udall,
Yeah.
Catherine Segura,
Here.
Candy Clemente,
Here.
Cliff Grimes,
Here.
Scott Keller.
Believe it or not, here.
All right. And I am here. So no one is absent. 7 out of 7 means a quorum is established.
Oh, we got a full boat. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, and we've got a nice little 3-page agenda for tonight's meeting. Thank you very much, Mary. And so I'd like to, if nobody has any additions or corrections or changes to the agenda, I'd like a motion to accept the agenda as written here.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Passed at 100%. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes for our regular meeting, which was held April 10th last month. We got a full 7 pages. Used to be 4, as I recall, but nope. Now we got 7. And I didn't see anything that needed any changes or additions. Did anybody else see anything that needed any kind of manipulation?
No.
If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes for our last meeting as drafted.
I'll make a motion to accept the meetings of our minutes as last drafted.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed. That's everybody's in favor, it sounds like. All right. So, council report. The first item is the president's report. As you can all tell, tonight's meeting is going to be held virtual via Zoom. And we do have Cindy Grimes, our volunteer co-host of the meeting, going to be with us here tonight. So look forward to what she has to say. And outgoing correspondence, we have a letter to the MEHKO staff regarding the proposed new ordinance for micro enterprise home kitchen operations. And we sent that out April 11th. Incoming correspondence, we'll be handling that during our community meeting, which is under items number 16B, C, and D. Other than that, Mary, can you think of any incoming or webmail that we need to bring up at this time?
No, nothing came in.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll just continue on. Next item we have for tonight is the secretary report.
And I really don't have too much to report, but I will be filing the IRS, the California Franchise Tax Board, and the Registry of Trusts paperwork by the May 15th deadline.
Mm,
Usually I do that at the end of April. Somehow that slipped past me. And the looks like I can do the registry of trusts online this year, and there is a $25 filing fee that will go with that. So
okay.
I'll have that
Um,
all set for have it done by May 15th. And that's all I've
okay.
got.
Perfect. Thank you much. It's time for the treasurer's report.
Yeah, so we spent $249 and change renewing the Safeco insurance policy, and what we have in the bank is $249 and change less than what we had last month.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So we're still looking okay at this point.
Oh, peachy, yes.
Good, good. Glad to hear that. All right. So there was an Association of Rural Town Councils meeting held April 24th. And if it was anybody able to attend that meeting or watch part of it or anything, or would they like to give a report?
I did not attend.
Okay. Anybody else attend or listen in
No.
or go to it? Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, I know they talked about the accelerated renewable energy development that was happening and the 2024 CAP, along with the Joshua Tree Conservation Plan and the meeting of the councils before meeting with the Emerald Valley Air Quality Management Division. So sounds like they're moving along. I didn't receive any notice of any items that they were concerned about, but obviously, you know, they they do send out quite a few notices, and we're busy, but it looks like they're actually busier. So anyway, that's what's happening with the Association of Rural Town Councils. Does anybody else want to bring up anything other than those items to this administrative portion of our meeting tonight? Okay. And as far as the officials that will be attending tonight, Mary, um, received this letter from Catherine, and that it kind of sounds like she's not going to be here, or she is going to be here. Did she say? We don't know.
Okay, Catherine, or are you talking Stephanie?
I'm talking. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, Stephanie. I know
Yeah,
Catherine.
I don't know that if she usually would say if she's not going to be, but she hasn't been here for the last couple meetings, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
And I know that Maria is doing a cert class down in La Cañada,
All
but
right.
she said that um the chief would be here.
Oh,
His
really?
Yeah, what's his name escapes me. Chris Springle. Chief Springle will be here to give the report.
Is that PRI?
S Springel. Springle.
Yeah, Maria won't be with us until July.
Okay.
Okay. Until
Cool.
July.
All right.
Um, and Josie's not going to be here, but Robert Tabaris is going to give the report on the illegal trucking.
Okay.
And I think that was it for the officials
Okay.
that
All
I
right.
had heard from.
Good enough. All right. Well, if there's nothing else to discuss in this administrative portion, I'm going to adjourn this portion until we start our general meeting, which is in about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes from now, unless anybody has objection to that. All right. So this portion is adjourned. Okay. Cool. Cheap.
Hey, Mary, I don't know if you guys are still around or you're still on your break.
I'm here.
So it's not for sure, but the captain might be popping in. I gave him the link and stuff so he can do like a little introduction. So it's a slim chance because he's got a couple, it's in between a couple other meetings, but I wanted him to kind of introduce him now that we actually have a captain at the station. Um, if not, I'll try to get something more formal on the books for you guys, just so you know.
Awesome. And what is his name?
Barden, Joshua Barden,
Barton?
Bardon.
Don, Barden. Okay, perfect.
All right, that's all. I'll see you guys in a few.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Bye.
Well, it looks like the 7 o'clock hour has arrived, and it's time that we get our community meeting started. So I would like to call this meeting to order. And this obviously this meeting is open to the public, and I would like to have Scott Keller lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and flag salute.
Thank you, Don. If anybody is wearing a hat, please remove your hat and place your right hand over your heart. If you have a flag to look at, please do so. I pledge of allegiance. There it is. Thank you, Mary or Don. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
all. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. I'd like to welcome everybody here to our meeting. As you can tell, it's being held virtually via Zoom, and hopefully everybody has a good connection or they can listen in on their phone. We do have Cindy Grimes, our community volunteer, who's co-hosting tonight's meeting. And if anybody would like to record, you can either ask her directly or just put a message into the chat box at the bottom of the screen. Let's see, I think you also need to press the record icon for that to take place. At this time, we've got our agency reports. And we're going to start off with our Los Angeles County Sheriff's resident deputy, Deputy Martinez.
Hey, Don, how's everyone doing?
Good.
All right, so for the month of April, which are the numbers we have in, we had 42 calls for service, 10 were crime calls, 29 were OBS, which are our officer-initiated calls when they're doing observational work around the neighborhoods and stuff, and 3 were medical calls. We had 0 Part 1 crimes, which brings our grand total for the year to still 0, which is a 100% decrease from the previous year. We had 1 property crime, and that's a total of 6 for the year, which is a 64% drop in crime and property crime from the previous year. And that's all I got for you guys, unless you guys got some for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Does anybody have any questions for Officer Martinez? I don't see too many hands that are up here, but if something comes up in the future and you're available.
Do you have any idea what would attribute to that large drop?
Honestly, it's with you guys, it's small numbers make big difference, right? So if next month we have 2 Part 1 crimes, right? We have 2 domestic violence, that's a 200% increase. All right. So
thank you.
Small numbers make big changes. Is if that, I mean, if you want to look at it like from this time last year as far as property crimes, let me look at it real quick. We were at 14. So, that's about half, a little bit more than half. So, maybe
Makes
that,
sense.
yeah. So it's not like a huge difference. Not like, it's not like now you guys can leave the car running everywhere you go, but it maybe, like we had the RV thefts, that guy, when he was hitting the RV storage yards, he was getting 8 a night. That's 8 property crimes because those are all separate victims each time. So that makes a huge difference. And that was last year.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you very much for the report. Now we're going to move on to the California Highway Patrol. If Officer Allen is here with us tonight or Officer Delgado, let's see, who do we have?
Good evening. It's Officer Allen. I believe we're both here, but I'll be the one presenting the statistics.
Great. Super. Welcome.
All right. Oh, thank you. So for April, we have, we'll start with citations. Total of 298 were issued in your area, 268 of those being on the freeway adjacent to you, 30 in the county area, 24 which were on Sierra Highway. Traffic collisions in the area, we have a total of 13. It was 8 injury collisions, 5 non-injury, no hit and runs, and no fatal collisions. On Sierra Highway, there's 1 non-injury and 4 injury. Those broke down would be injury TC with a U-turn. That was Sierra Highway and the Old Dirt Road. DUI TC on Sierra Highway in Juniper Valley, and a rollover solo vehicle TC on Sierra and Center Drive. The fourth injury TC on that was not available as it had not been finished by the trainee yet. Arrests were pretty light. The unincorporated had that one DUI arrest, stolen vehicle recovery, and one vandalism of property. That was further down by Vasquez Canyon. And that would be it.
Okay. Great. Does anybody have any question for Officer Allen?
Yes.
All right.
I know it's fairly recent, Officer Allen, but there was a car in the ditch a couple of nights ago on Sierra Highway at Spring Street, at Center Street in Sleepy Valley. I know the fire department rolled up on it and the vehicle was empty. Did you ever get to the bottom of that one?
So I have that on here as being on the 29th, the rollover near Center Street. That is still under investigation. That is a training unit's handling it, so it is taking some time to finish. But I know they're following up on the vehicle owner, et cetera. I don't believe it was reported stolen at the time, so they have some follow-up to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much for the report. We appreciate you attending our meeting tonight.
All right, I thank you. I'll be around. I'm going to put my email in the chat as well. If anyone has any questions, they can email me.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you much. Next up, we have Los Angeles County Fire Department. And apparently Maria is not going to be with us tonight, but instead, we're blessed with Chief Springle is going to give the report.
Hey, Don, I appreciate that. Good seeing you. Hello, Mary.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on. Maria is teaching tonight. She's teaching CERT in La Cañada. So changing it up for you guys a little bit tonight. So the fire report for Community of Agua Dulce for April 2024. Total responses, 32. Patients that received medical care or EMS was 19. We had 3 vehicle fires reported with a total property damage of $35,000. No hazardous conditions reported. And we had 10 good intent calls for service. So about average with where call volume wise that you guys typically do in a month. So not too much out of the ordinary. So just in place of the safety tip of the month, just a reminder that our firefighters have begun their annual brush inspections. That was as of May 1st. So you will have firefighters around in your neighborhoods. Inspections will be carried out through mid-June. And just to assure that we are prepping for defensible space as we go into the fire season. There's a lot of grass out there this year. There's a lot of fuel out there this year. So just make sure that we're doing the best that we can of mitigating our issues prior to going into the fire season. This time also of the year, we encourage our residents to review the Ready, Set, Go Wildfire Action Plan. This program provides several tips on maintaining proper brush clearance, hardening or prepping your home, and preparing for evacuation if necessary. The Ready, Set, Go booklets are available at your local fire stations or through our website at fire.lacounty.gov/RSG. So that completes my report unless you guys have any questions.
Okay, let's see if we have any questions here. Anybody have any questions for the chief? I think we're looking good. And it looks like, yeah, the nice thing is they're actually giving me notices, and maybe they've done this in the past, and maybe my wife collected them, but it's nice as they visit your property and see the condition, they give you, hey, it looks good, or you've got to do this or do that, which is kind of nice to get a check sheet as far as what's going on.
And I would say also with don't hesitate to, as the firefighters come around, you can ask them questions also, and we're there to help you guys through the inspection process. We want compliance is what we're looking for on our side, so we want to help get you there. So don't hesitate to ask the firefighters what the needs are or what have you with your property as they come around.
Great, appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight also.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Don, I've got a question for the chief. If he has any information on something called Firewise Communities.
I don't. I know that Maria is involved in that program better than I, and I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm going to have Maria contact you guys, and she certainly can answer a lot of those questions in regards to Firewise. So it's in
Okay.
preparation for getting our communities where we want them, but she'd be the better one to ask on that.
Okay, I had just gotten some questions from two different community members, and I thought I did a little research on it, and it looks it doesn't look like something that we could do, but it kind of sounds like you could do it like within a neighborhood. So I'll check with Maria and get more information on it.
Yep, and I don't want to speak out of turn and step on her terrazzo there. So if you want to reach out to her direct on email, also she'd be more than happy to answer some of those questions.
Fantastic. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have the report from the Acton Agua Dulce Library from the librarian, Jim Wall. Jim?
Good evening. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great.
Good. Glad to hear. So first off, I'll just start off with some upcoming programming. Tuesday, May 14th at 3 p.m., we're having our Maker Mobile come up again, and they're doing a program all about maze making. So they're going to have all kinds of stuff to make 3D mazes. Should be kind of fun. The other one I'll mention I've got coming up Tuesday, May 28th at 4 o'clock. We're going to be doing watercolor postcards. So you can paint your own postcard, and then when you go away on vacation, you can mail it to somebody and they'll have their own, or just keep it for yourself too. You could do that.
Right.
And then with summer coming around, I just want to remind everybody, when you're planning those trips specifically to state parks, I have here at the library state park passes. So they get you into the state parks for free. It's not for camping or anything, but it's those like day use areas. So you can get your car in at no cost.
Cool.
If you're interested in one of those, I've got them here at the CERC desk. Just come on in, check it out with your library card. You get it for 2 weeks. And then just the last thing, our summer discovery program is getting ready to ramp up. That's going to start up June 1st. After June 1st, come on into the library. We can sign you up, get you everything you need, or you can register online and do it all online. But that's what I've got. Unless you guys have anything more for me, that's all I've got.
Well, let's see. I don't see too many hands up. In fact, I don't see any hands up. So I think everybody's satisfied with the report that you gave.
All right. Well, if you guys need anything, you know how to reach me.
Thank you much, Jim. We appreciate your loyalty and being here and being available. All right. Next up, we have the report from the Department of Public Works. I guess Josie isn't with us tonight, but there is someone who is going to step in her position, if I'm not mistaken, and give us an update on the department's.
Yeah, I think that's going to be under Stephanie's report for the illegal trucking business. The only thing is the hazardous and e-waste is the first and third Saturday of the month at the Palmdale Waste Management. Free mattress recycling on the 22nd. And it looks like the EIR will be released for the North County Solid Waste Collection Services, otherwise known as the GDDs, in summer sometime.
Okay. All right. So we'll look forward to getting that.
Yeah.
One more thing to add. We'd asked Josie what the survey marker was doing in the side of the rock wall down on Sierra Highway before Davenport Road. And she confirmed that it was a survey crew that put that in there so they can recover the center line of Sierra Highway after the resurfacing work. So it's a permanent marker for survey purposes.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. All right. So I think that concludes it from those reports. And now we're going to move on to the report from the 5th District from Stephanie English, if Stephanie's here with us tonight.
I need to contact Stephanie one-on-one and say, did we do something that you're not coming to our meetings anymore?
Did her phone quit working?
Yeah, I'll check with her to find out what's going on.
All right. Okay. So we will put a hold on the 5th District. Maybe she's running late. I don't know. But if that happens and she shows up, definitely let me know so I can put her up. Next
Hello?
up.
Hello?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hi, I believe someone was going to step in for Stephanie tonight. She did contact us. My name's Ken Ferguson with
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Department of Public Works.
Yes.
Um, the one thing I can speak about is the checking operation on 1302 Sierra Highway, and there has been it's everything's kind of still on hold on that to get through the permitting process and approvals that they need to get. Uh, so it's not forgotten. It's in the works. The other items in I'm not familiar with. I mainly came online to just hear about some of the reports online. So I don't have information on the other items.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you stepping in. And if Stephanie shows up, we'll definitely have her take the floor.
Okay, Don, let's
Okay.
talk, and maybe Chris can jump in here. Do we
Yeah.
need to continue to have these discussions and have staff be here for the illegal trucking business and also the failed septic system? Chris, what's your feeling about that?
Yeah, I think the trucking business seems to be on its way to being resolved. I mean, clearly there's an ongoing civil matter between the county and the homeowner. The homeowner's taking steps to do that. So I think we can probably drop that and maybe revisit it later this year. I think the timetable that was explained to us was that it would probably be October or November before the various permits were processed by the county. So maybe we just table this for 6 months and revisit it later this year in October.
Okay.
The septic system, I think, is still relevant. The I was at the county water plan event a week ago Monday, and I bumped into some of the people from public health. There are some changes coming down the pipeline for the county for water systems with less than 200 connections around the county of Los Angeles, of which Sleepy Valley is one. It used to be the case that the state water board devolved the responsibility for overseeing those companies to the county. That comes to an end on June 30th. So the county does appear to be preparing to take action against the homeowner, but this is a very long, protracted process. We have noticed that the nitrate levels in the water continue to rise. We've approached the homeowner to pump out the septic tank. We're putting our nitrate filtration system back online, but the reality is that history shows that the homeowner's failed septic is capable of putting so much nitrate into the groundwater supply that a nitrate filtration system won't take all the nitrate out. And you could put 3 of them or 4 of them in line, and you still wouldn't be able to get it below the level that septic is capable of polluting the groundwater to. So I think it would be helpful to have that remain on the agenda in the foreseeable future, because it's still a problem. 58 homeowners down here in Sleepy Valley.
Great. We appreciate that update, Chris. What else? Oh, the water conservation ordinance. That's going to be coming up once we get the EIR on the GDD in regards to the called solid. What's the new name for it, Mary?
It is the North County, what is it? North County.
Solid waste or something?
Yeah, solid waste. So let's take off the water conservation ordinance because there's really nothing happening that I know of with that. And the LA
Okay.
County response to SB 552, let's take that off because
Yeah. Okay.
no news is good news.
Yep, that's true. Okay. And after reading back through that a couple of times, because everybody said, no, it's not going to involve private single family residences. I think they put the definitions in there of what a private water well is, but going back through all the regulations and requirements that they were beginning to impose, there wasn't anything listed for the private individual well. So I think at this point, we haven't received any notification that they're going to be doing anything with private wells. So I think, like you say, no news is good news. So I agree with that. Okay, well, if Stephanie does show up, or if anybody wants to show up from LA County and give any kind of report, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to Assembly Member Tom Lackey, California 34th Assembly District. A report given tonight from Carlo Basel.
So I bumped into Carlo at the KHTS Homes and Gardens event a couple of weeks ago, and felt his collar about the fact that we hadn't seen him for a little while. It's like, hey, what gives? The elections are gone and you disappear. But apparently they work. They take a 3-month off period. So he's not currently doing an awful lot for Assemblyman Lackey, but will resume normal service a bit later on.
Okay, great. Well, we'll keep calling on him. If he shows up, we'll let him talk. How's that sound? Okay, so I don't know if the Senate district does the same thing, but Senator Scott Wilkes' report given by Thomas Moreno. I think Thomas was here last time, and if he's here this time, we'll definitely give him the floor. But it looks like he may be on a 3-month sabbatical also. All right, so that being the case, we're going to move on to Mike Garcia. I know he's not taking a break. And we have the report tonight from Jackie Owens, if Jackie's here. Yeah, he must be on break too. All right. How do we get these breaks? Does the town council get these kind of breaks? Okay. All right. No, not going to go there. All right. So let's go to, here we go. Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee, Measure W Watershed Coordinator Amanda Begley. Amanda?
Either Amanda or maybe Heather. Doesn't look like either of them. So, and the only thing I can report is they've canceled the last couple of meetings. The May meeting is canceled, and I just got notice that we will be meeting on June 20th, 1 to 3 at the Santa Clarita City Hall.
Okay. So June 20th instead of May 16th.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. And same time, 1 to 3?
1 to 3. Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. And if you want more detail, you can go online there, click on that, and find out exactly more detail. Next up, we have presentation tonight from AT&T new wireless cell site facility at 33433 Agua Dulce Canyon Road. Jerry Ambrose is going to give that report tonight, I believe. Jerry?
Yeah, good evening. I am here and I'm not on a break.
Good evening.
Shall I share my screen? That's the best way to do the presentation?
Sure, go ahead. You should be able to do it.
Okay, let me let's see here. Not giving me what I want. Let me see. So let me try one more thing. Should do it.
Jerry, I have the photos and
how about that? Did I get it?
I could start
it. It says your name. He started.
There we go. You got it.
Right. Boy,
sorry about that.
Perfect.
Yeah, again, so my name is Jerry Ambrose with the Yukon Group here on behalf of AT&T. And they are proposing a new cell tower facility at the corner of Darling and Agua Dulce. Mm-hmm. And it's a new tower. It's 55 feet high, and it's disguised as a water tower, a water tank tower. And what I have up on the screen, I have 3 different photos of before and after views. So this first view is Agua Dulce at Darling looking northwest existing. This would be northwest proposed. This would be looking from Darling, before and after. And this is from Darling looking sort of northeast, before and after. And that's the basics of it. A water tank tower. There's a walled enclosure at the base, 25 feet by 35 feet. Includes cabinets and a standby generator. In terms of a location, we essentially pushed it up against the west property line. That's what was preferred by the property owner. This is a commercially zoned lot. So that made the most sense. And it also worked for AT&T's engineers. And that's the basics. I can answer any questions you have.
All right. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Jerry? And time
Will
frame
will this be exclusive to AT&T?
Yes, at this point, it's exclusive to AT&T. It's always possible another carrier could come along and want to add something to it, but right now it's just AT&T.
And this will provide 5G service?
Yeah, it'll provide all the services that AT&T provides, which is essentially a 1G through 5G.
Okay.
If
And
another carrier comes and joins, does that change the tower at all, the looks, the aesthetics of it?
Hard to say. It's possible, depending on what carrier comes along, that they could put their antennas inside of the tank there. There would be enough room, potentially. The other option would be to install antennas on the legs, which doesn't usually look good. And the other option would be to potentially extend the height of the tower. Essentially have the same design, but taller to accommodate an additional carrier, or raise the tank a bit.
Okay.
And when is the project proposed to commence, and how long will it take to construct?
Right now, we are in the sort of, I guess, mid-range with city planning, county planning, and I would anticipate a hearing probably August, something like that. We would go into plan check September, probably beginning of 2025, maybe February or March, probably be a realistic start date. And construction's about 4 months, but that's off and on. It's not a constant. The contractor's not there 4 months. It's just off and on.
All right. I see that Sandy Grimes has her hand up patiently. Sandy?
Hi, thank you. On this last slide that's still up, it looks like there's two spotlights. When will they be operational every night or every week? What is with the lights?
Spotlights.
It looks like they're on the
I'm not
property adjacent to it on the north side.
The neighbors' arena lights.
Here.
Are they? Would you mind going back to the slide?
Lights.
Yeah, is that part of?
Those are existing.
Okay, can you go back to another slide so I can see it without the lights? Maybe slide it back, maybe from the
yeah, or just go to the existing.
Yeah, go to the existing.
Because it should, if they should still be there in the existing before the tank goes in. Just the previous slide.
Jerry? Did we lose you?
I think we lost him.
I think we lost him. Oh, Scott. Okay.
Okay. I'll see if I can. I think I've got those. Let's see. Let's see if I can share it.
I'm pretty sure those are arena lights on the property next door that have always been there.
Okay, so that would be. Okay, yeah. See that this is before the tank goes in, and those are still there.
Okay. All right. So they're existing lights that
Okay.
are
Does
okay.
that make sense, Cindy?
It does, absolutely. I just didn't catch them in that present state slide, so
Yeah.
I
Okay.
will make sure that we still stay within our dark skies category.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't really need a spotlight on the water tank.
No,
No.
we
Okay,
can all
thank
see.
you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. And I think we may have lost Jerry.
Could we get welcome to historic Agua Dulce painted on it?
I'm back. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm not sure if you heard my answer, but I think she was referring to these two here, these two lights.
Yes.
Those are existing
Those were existing. That's what we put
on an
in.
adjacent parcel.
Okay. And the other question was, can we do any kind of advertising, it sounds like, on the side of their new tank?
Yeah, AT&T wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't know. We sometimes run into situations where the county or a city has regulations against any kind of signage.
Okay.
I wasn't suggesting that we do it for advertising purposes, but we do it as a sort of landmark that says, welcome to Agua Dulce, rather than promoting anybody's business.
Sure, yeah, I've seen it interpreted by cities and counties to be advertising, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. I've run into that.
They have a sign ordinance, and it's like if you paint a building, the whole building becomes under that sign ordinance. So
we're anyway, whatever the community would want.
Okay, great.
Maybe we should let Banksy loose on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the presentation tonight, Jerry. We appreciate it. And if we have any comments that arise tonight, they'll definitely forward them on to you, and we'll go from there.
Jerry, are you looking to get anything from us? Are you looking for us to take action?
Yeah, thank you. That was my question. The county planner is looking for some kind of response, just evidence that I went to your committee, your board, your council.
Okay, let's just open it up to anybody who is on the call right now to see if anybody has any community concerns, or if you want to put something in the chat that you've got concerns about.
I don't see too much. Oh,
Cindy's back up.
I do have just one other question. Will it be creating noise? Because I know the one that we had that was going to go in over here on the north or on the east side of Darling was going to have a lot of noise because of the diesel engine that would be running it or backing it up, and then the cement wall. Will there be, what's your noise factor down there? I mean, I don't think we'll be affected by it, but noise does travel here in this area quite well.
Yep. Jerry?
So the project does come with a backup generator. It also comes with batteries. So the way it works, if you have a temporary outage, the batteries in the cabinets will kick in. Those last 9 or 10 hours. And then any kind of outage that's over that amount of time, the generator would kick in. So yes, there would be generator noise at that point. Again, that's only if there's an outage beyond about 10 hours. We do have the wall there. I know there are baffling mechanisms to use, and we can certainly investigate those and come up with a plan for that.
Okay, and then just the other question that I have is, since it's going to be a backup generator, will that be running on diesel? And if so, will you be keeping that fuel on site?
Yes, the fuel is on site. Diesel is what they prefer. It's not mandatory. I'm not sure there are alternatives, but yes, it is kept on site.
Okay.
It's an enclosed. Fire department has a bunch of regulations about how it's encased and enclosed, and there's a number of different things we need to comply with for that.
Okay. So that would just be part of my concern is since we're in a severe high fire danger area, the fuel that's being going to be kept on site as long as it's secured properly and the fire department's okay with it. Besides the noise, because we all know that we love our quiet area out here. So, but thank you for your time.
But Jerry, again, to make clear, under normal day-to-day operation, the generator's not going to be running until there is an emergency. Is that correct? Do I hear
That's
you
correct.
correctly?
Yeah, we're tying into I think it's SoCal Edison Power for operation of the tower. But again, if there's an outage, that's when it becomes a factor.
Okay.
It's a great
substantial outage, I would say.
It's a great looking tower, and I think it fits the community being a water tower. Just my opinion.
Yep. It's not the only one around, that's for sure. All right.
Just a couple of comments here. The generator will start up and self-test because it has to recharge its batteries and stuff. Mm-hmm. So as long as that happens during sensible hours of the day and not at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't think anybody will have a problem with it. Right. And I think just generally for the community, this type of service is quite important because what we're starting to see is that landlines are starting to go away. They're trying to remove these from people's homes, particularly in rural communities like Agville, say. And we have this other issue of residential broadband for rural communities. And if you're putting a 5G tower into the middle of Agville, say, then you're opening up the opportunity for those people to replace their landlines with mobile devices, but also to be able to use high-speed data where perhaps now they're limited to things like HughesNet. This may well help a number of our residents get better internet connectivity for entertainment and also work at home purposes.
Right. Okay. Anybody else? All right.
So I would like to move to send a letter to regional planning staff indicating that Mr. Ambrose attended the duly noticed May meeting to present his proposed project. The concerns included noise based on the generator, and also fire safety with the diesel kept on site. And if we could add some baffling in the walls for noise, that would be great. So based on the information presented, the town council requests the community concerns be addressed prior to the approval of the conditional use permit.
Okay.
So that's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. Any more discussion on this particular motion? All right. You have a motion on the floor.
Cindy, does that include all of your concerns?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I did notice that Cliff raised his hand. I don't know if he has other.
Yeah, just briefly, with the fire department requirements, I would imagine spill containment for the fuel is also included in that, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that they're going to have, whatever they put in there is going to have to go through LA County approval.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I just want to make sure we covered that off.
Yeah, and I can include fire safety with being in a very high fire hazard severity zone, and also spill containment. I can include that in.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, diesel can make quite a mess, as we all know.
Got it.
I'm surprised they prefer diesel over natural gas when they got natural gas in the road there. But
yeah,
it's they probably set up all their stations the same. And that makes total sense also. That way they have one maintenance company, no matter which site they go to, has the same identical everything. And they go through it and have routine maintenance and make sure everything's operating the way it's supposed to. So we have a motion on the.
I'm happy to have another carrier with a cell tower and also good backup battery and generator when the power goes out. Because
Yeah, because I think
that stuff is really, really, really important
well,
when
and
we've got no power.
we've all experienced losing our network, both business wise and at home. And it's like, well, why can't Spectrum have a have a backup, system? But usually when we lose Edison power, within an hour we lose Spectrum. So that's what it is. So anyway, I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to be as modern and as available as possible. So we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second, uh, and we've had discussion. So all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So Mary, if you can draft.
Sure. Jerry, who in regional planning is your planner that you're working with?
I'll email that to you. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, that'd be great.
They keep changing staff over there constantly, so I'll send that to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good enough.
Thanks for
Hey, Don,
presenting.
I do have one other thing to say. I don't know if Jerry was the one working on the project prior up on eastern side of Darling, but we do feel this is a much more suitable location, serves the community well, and appreciate the work that's been done to find a better location for it.
Perfect. Fantastic. All right. So it sounds like everybody's happy. With that being the case, I'm going to move on to old business. Old business, we have RTG Investments, Agua Dulce Residential Project, TT 50385. I believe we have a report tonight, or at least Chris is heading up whatever reports are going to be given tonight. Chris?
Yeah, so I'm not sure whether Jackie Ayer may be joining us tonight or not. I was at the county water plan meeting with her, and she said she would try and make it because she attended the RTG event to talk about horse trails, which I think happened at fairly short notice about 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So we'll table that because I really didn't spend much time talking to her about that when we were talking about other stuff.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen and kick off a presentation that hopefully. All right. Does everybody see that?
Yeah, it's starting to come on. Let me see your name. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, good enough. All right. So a couple of days after the last town council meeting, I got some public records request information from Public Works, and they were related to the grading bond. You may remember that in the February meeting, we were a little bit nervous about whether that letter of credit was still valid or not. So we agreed that we would reach out to Credit Suisse and the county to find out exactly what was going on and the history of that particular security. And a lot of the information that I got was related to that. It was about 80 emails or 80 documents. It's not a single email. It's normally an email thread that can be several pages long. So I went through all of that, and really the information that I'm going to share falls into the following categories. First of all, we're going to talk about the fact that RTG recently replaced that July 2022 letter of credit with a cashier's check for 2.27 million. The disclosures from a couple of months ago indicate that RTG is planning to split up the improvements on phase one. So phase one has a series of water tanks, pumping stations, roads, sewers, storm drains, as a single phase of 68 homes. And what RTG is seeking to do is actually split up those improvements so that they can build the models alone and use that then to try and bootstrap the sales of the other lots in the 68 project development so they can do that for cash flow purposes, which is a little concerning, as we'll talk about shortly. There was also a couple of other throwaway bits and pieces in there that I think are worth revisiting. One, when we saw all that dirt being stockpiled on the south lot, RTG got the notice of violation for unpermitted grading on that. And also something that was news to me in this was that they were also cited by the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board in June of last year. And then something that dropped into my inbox just as I was wrapping up this presentation, I think is worth discussing as well, because RTG is claiming that they've been in discussions with the town council in an email that I received from them today, which I think is it's a good job we live in a horse community and know when to smell that and know what that stuff smells like. Anyway, so let's talk about the letter of credit validity. Obviously, one of the questions and the issues that we conveyed to LA County was that after we saw Credit Suisse have that implosion in March of last year, we were concerned that they perhaps, weren't a suitable security anymore for this grading permit. And in fact, what the dialogue shows is that LA County's tax collector and treasurer's office and public works financial people had already twigged to that very quickly and started exchanging emails and saying, hey, look, we've got this security. This wasn't something they were doing at our behest, but they were just saying, look, we've got this security with Credit Suisse. We probably put it on their radar for them when we raised the issue of the fact that it had this strange ownership connection through Cyprus. Because of what's happened at Credit Suisse, we need to figure out whether we need to get a replacement security here. So about a week later, on March 23rd last year, they confirmed that the subsidiary company, Credit Suisse, was still rated properly, but the parent company failed to meet their rating standards. Obviously, the parent company was bought by United Bank of Switzerland at the behest of the government of Switzerland to effectively stave off a collapse of their banking industry. But they came back and said, look, we need to figure out what the purpose of this letter of credit is, because these are financial people talking about this. And it also expires in 3 months in July. So, what's going on there? So about a week later, at the end of March, Public Works staff chimed in and said, look, this was a grading permit for 68 homes. We haven't been up there to review anything on site yet. There's some rudimentary erosion control measures, and they've done some minor dirt movement. But there's no way that this project, the grading for this project, will be completed by July of this year. And we don't even know what the schedule is from the developer to complete any of these 68 homes, because we don't have plans for them. And there's actually no completion date for the rough grading covered by the letter of credit. So that was the reply from Public Works. And then a few weeks later, in the middle of April, Public Works staff in between themselves confirmed that because of the takeover by UBS, that the bank now met those standards again. But what you see is there was no apparent follow-up after this July date. And that was one of the things that I asked for in the public records request, give me the confirmation that, this thing actually renewed in July. So as we discussed, you fast forward to February 21st, a week after Valentine's Day, when we had our town council meeting, and we agreed that we were going to request the details of the letter of credit from the county and Credit Suisse, just to confirm for our own edification, as we had done with the traveler's insurance, that this thing was still valid. Now, I don't believe there are too many coincidences in life, but 3 weeks later, on March 13th, RTG wrote to the county out of the blue and said that they wanted to replace the letter of credit with a cashier's check for the rough grading bond. And they turned around and said, and we've already done 30% of the grading, we think, and therefore we'd like a 30% reduction in the $2.27 million bond. And at the same time, on the same day, the vice president of SICAND Engineering requested an in-person meeting on behalf of RTG to discuss this bonding with LA County. What SICAND also did when they requested that meeting was that they gave the county a list of attendees who'd be going to the headquarters for Public Works down in Alhambra, and that included Ruben Gregorian, the CEO of RTG Investment, which I thought was kind of surprising, given that he seemed to have been based in Russia. So perhaps he's in the US at the moment. And then on March 14th, RTG approached the county and said, look, we'd like to know how you calculated the bond, because we're trying to figure out whether we can, get a haircut and give you a lower cost bond as part of this. And this quote is at the bottom. This is not my words. This is RTG's words. This is their project manager saying, look, we really appreciate your collaboration because this is likely one of the biggest construction projects in California, which you're going to learn is they've got about enough money to do 3 models. And therefore, we're going to end up paying some of this money to you, and that pays your wages. And we'd really like your cooperation to make our hard work not as difficult to serve the community and the local authorities. I wonder if ChatGPT wrote that. So March 14th, after some internal discussion, including a referral back to Art Vandervis, who's been the central contact on this, the county came back and said, no, you can't have a discount on the grading bond. It's going to be 100%. On the same day, even though they'd set up this meeting, some representatives went into the Lancaster Building and Safety Office and said, we'd like to talk to you about replacing a letter of credit with this cash. And that caused all sorts of consternation and confusion because there was nobody in the Lancaster Building office who knew what was going on. And there were all these emails flying backwards and forwards saying, what are they doing? We're meeting with them next week. Now, I actually made the public records request for this information on March 19th, so that's really the cutoff date. But I'm assuming that on March 20th, this meeting went ahead and RTG replaced that letter of credit with a $2.27 million cashier's check. So there is bonding right now for the rough grading, but I do have, I think, a legitimate question as to whether there was any between July and March. And I think we might have been somewhat of a catalyst to making that happen. So let's talk about the more concerning part of this disclosure, and that's this sub-phasing of phase 1. So in January this year, a vice president of project management at SICAND approached LA County, said, look, we had this meeting with you, I think it was a site meeting a couple of months ago, where we talked about the phase 1 improvements, and improvements in public works terms are water mains, roads, drains, sewers, that sort of stuff, anything that they're going to adopt at the end of the project. And there was a discussion there about whether they could divide the construction of phase 1, the 68 homes, into smaller phases. And they wanted to discuss this with LA County so that they could then determine what LA County's concern or support was for it, and then submit revised storm drain, street and sewer plans for the sub-phases. So internally, what the county did the next day was they said, well, you can't really do that because phase 1 was approved, the rough grading for phase 1 was approved in 2002 as a whole. That final map's recorded. And, you can't do something like that without going back to a map and creating a tentative map. And then that requires public hearings and all the rest of it. So you can't do it with the rough grading plan. You're going to have to grade all of phase 1 like we've approved you to, but the precise grading plan where they go in and effectively fine grade the pads for the houses to sit on and that sort of stuff, yes, provided that building and safety and regional planning are in agreement, you would be able to phase the construction of those 68 homes throughout the project. So on February 15th, there was an email that came in saying, yep, SICAND is still very much intent on doing this subdivision of phase 1 into these smaller phases. And there were a couple of questions posed, would we even consider reviewing that smaller phasing of phase 1, given that the developer hasn't signed a new multiple agreement and hasn't put any of those replacement bonds in place yet? And the county said, absolutely not. We're not going to give you permits to do anything until you get that new multiple agreement and those new bonds. And what you see in this email explanation is the reason they're doing this is so that they can build the model homes, so that they can, as we just discussed a couple of minutes ago, sell the undeveloped lots to prospective purchasers and use that money to cash flow the ultimate build out of the project. So that, I think, gives us a clear indication that it seems unlikely that RTG has the funding to build the first 68 homes of the project in the way that the previous developer was contemplating to do it. There's a throwaway comment in there where they characterize it as being a similar approach to the plan that they're working on with Hunsaker. And Hunsaker is the engineering company that's working on the water pumping stations and the storage tanks for the project, for the on-site water infrastructure. But this is a really concerning comment that the person from LA County makes, that the proposed phasing would need to stand on its own. And I think what that tells you is that if they just put a water tank and a pumping station and rough grade some streets and they put some pads in and build 3 model homes, it may not go further than that. That would be what they mean by standing on its own. So whatever they split the phasing up into would not be the building of all 68 homes. It would be the building of something, and goodness knows what that might look like if things continue not to go well. So I mentioned the notice of violation. That was obviously something that we discussed at the April 12th meeting, where we'd seen all this equipment and ponds and goodness knows what else on the southern boundary of the project outside of the approved tract area. As soon as we raised it in the council meeting, it seems like that word went back to various people in public works, and they started to note that there was stockpiling of dirt. They didn't at that time know whether it was related to the storm drain catch basins that are built, that are supposed to be built on that part of the project. But they did note that this is a pretty contentious project with the community. And they went on site the same day, had a chat to the supervisor of the project, and they said, no, this has nothing to do with the storm drains. So the county pointed out to them that you're actually not allowed to do any of this because you don't have any grading permits to do anything on this piece of land. And you've got to come back to us for some approvals and revisions. So on the 18th, we wrote to the county a little while later, and then that letter, obviously, to Supervisor Barger landed on the head of regional planning's desk, Amy Bodek, and she forwarded it out to Joshua Huntington, who works in regional planning, and also to Art Vanderbiz, who we know from Public Works Land Use. They did a bit of research and came back after some on-site visits and said, yep, there's 100,000 cubic yards of dirt that's been stockpiled there. We've issued a notice of violation. It's interesting that the regional planning staff, they took it back to their management, and regional planning said, no, this needs to be a stop work order because there's an excessive amount of dirt that's been moved around here and they need to stop that until this is fixed. It seemed to get busted down to a notice of violation once it landed in the lap of Public Works, which is par for the course on this project, given the number of corners this developer's been able to cut at land use's behest. So they came back and said, look, this is Art Vanderveers who's saying this. He's sort of saying, look, we've had this discussion and they may want to change the grading plan, but we should probably have a meeting internally before they send us anything so we can figure out what they can actually do without triggering a new environmental report or a secret revision. So I think that's a conflict of interest here, because I don't think it's Public Works' job to go and tell the developer what they can and can't do. I think the developer should be coming to the county and saying, we'd like to do this, what say you? Rather than trying to preempt that with county council staff, regional planning staff, and public works staff. That doesn't seem at all proper, to use the expression. So April 25th, there was an internal conference call between various staff within LA County, and they said, I think quite rightly, no, tell the developer to come back to us explaining what they want to do. We'll then figure out what they need to do, and we can evaluate it and let them know whether it's a revised Exhibit A or an addendum to the EIR, and whether there's any changes needed to the CUP by virtue of what they're doing. And then, we can figure out whether it's something the county can do ourselves or whether it needs public input because it's so significantly deviating from what was approved that we need to do this public outreach. And they also noted, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that there was several violations like grading soil without a permit, equipment. They'd extended Valley Sage Road without a permit. I don't know quite how they managed to do that. Those were the observations that were made by the county. On April 26th, regional planning staff said, look, we've had a chat with our manager and we think that that should be a stop work order. But I think from our conversations with Art Vandervis when we met him a few months later in June in Stephanie English's office, nothing ended up being a stop work order here. It was all broken down to notices of violation. By the latter part of May, RTG had shifted about 70% of that dirt back to where it should have been. But there's an interesting reference here from May 23rd, and that is that regional planning had somehow become aware that there was no tribal monitor on the project site. So they requested that the tribal monitor, that the RTG confirmed that they actually had tribal monitor from the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians under a retainer agreement, and also that they were being paid, which I think the latter question was very smart of regional planning. So by June 20th, about a month later, RTG confirmed by email that the money that they had owed to the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians had been paid, and that they now had their on-site observation back up and running. So yet another company in this project that ended up being owed money by the developer in fairly short order. Then we come to the Regional Water Quality Control Board violation. And I'm going to come to a point on this in the next slide, but this was issued on June 9th, and apparently the Regional Water Quality Control Board staff who issued that dredge and fill permit back in early 2022 had driven past the site in January, noticed some potential violations, come back in February. Then they'd been on site, I think, with an agreement with RTG and put a corrective action plan in place on February 21st. And then they'd gone back a week later and noticed that, nothing had been done. So in June, they turned around and said, right, you have this agreement with us, you're in violation of that agreement. And this agreement, this document was actually shared with quite a few staff within the Department of Public Works, Waterworks, as well as some of the civil engineers who have been in touch with this project. And if you remember, when we sat down with LA County at Stephanie English's office in June or August last year, we raised the issue of coordination, and we were told by Mr. Vandervis, we just don't talk to each other. But the Water Control Board had sent this notice of violation to Public Works in June specifically. They didn't have to ask for it, and then Public Works has started circulating it. So the fact that we were told in that meeting that, we don't interact with each other, we don't call each other and figure out what's going on, I'm calling BS on, because the Water Board clearly made the county Public Works aware that this was going on. So they made some remedy requests. They gave some documentary and photographic evidence requirements that they had to be in compliance with by July 10th. I don't know whether they've been in compliance with those, because I would have to make a public records request to the Regional Water Quality Control Board to see what actually happened there. But I do know that it took until the 7th of February this year for SciCand Engineering to submit revised erosion and sediment control plans, which are part of what the Water Board is asking RTG to do last year, to the county using their online permit system for review. Now, the last thing I think is, it's perplexing and concerning. So I'm sitting here tying up the loose ends to this presentation, and ping, this little email drops into my inbox, and it says exactly this. This is a cut and paste of what I got. And it's again, ChatGPT at its finest. But what it says is, during our recent discussions with the town council, your name, my name, came up as someone with expertise in marketing and business planning. And therefore, we'd like to meet up with our team members if you're interested in exploring potential collaboration opportunities in the realms of planning and marketing. Now, my first response was, you can't afford me. My second response was, I don't want to be another person in the line of people that you owe money to. But the thing that stood out to me the most is what I've highlighted in red here, because RTG is out there sending emails to people. I'm assuming I'm not the only person who got this email, claiming that they've had some meetings with the town council, some discussions with the town council that certainly I'm not aware of, and I don't know whether any of you are, where trying to effectively pass off this email as coming with our endorsement. And I have a huge problem with that. The last thing that we've done as a town council is endorsed what RTG is doing here. And I can't see that that's going to change in the short term. So I think we need to have a discussion about what we might want to do about this. Do we send them a cease and desist request and say, you know, the hell you're going to be sending letters out to people claiming that you've talked to us and this has all been done with our blessing, because it isn't. So I think if you summarize what we learned in the course of this disclosure, I actually think that there's a reasonable question as to whether the development has sufficient resources to actually undertake the first phase of this project as it was approved in 94 and 2007. I'm sure they would probably disagree with that. But if you look at past performance, the designated biologist resigned in the middle of 2023 because they hadn't been paid for 12 plus months and they were owed a couple of $100,000 and filed liens for that. The developer owed money to the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians, and it wasn't until they realized they had to pay that to get the county to move and take a notice of violation off their plate that they decided to step up and pay that. The developers' reps have claimed to people in the community that they owe the pipeline subcontractor quite a significant amount of money for the work they did putting the water main in along Sierra Highway and Valley Sage Road. KWC Engineering has mentioned in emails that they've got contractual issues with the developer, which I think is a good euphemism for also suffering from some of the problems that these others had. And now the developer wants to split up phase one, the water, storm drains, roads, all that, for cash flow reasons. And those parts of phase one that do get built, if anything does get built, have to stand on their own. So it may not even be 68 homes. And I think at the last meeting, we'd said, look, you know, we should, having seen them strip out all this water infrastructure that was going to go to phase two under PZ 3483 or 38, whatever it was, we now need to go and take a look at what they're doing behind the scenes with Hunsaker, with the storage tank, with the water pumps, all these other changes that could be going on. I've received some disclosures a couple of days ago in that bucket from the county, and I haven't looked at them yet. But I'm going to put it out to discussion. If they split phase one up into smaller phases, how do we feel about that? I mean, what the hell are we going to end up with at the end of the day?
Sorry about that. My microphone is muted. Thank you, Chris, for that report. We appreciate it. Definitely, it's cause for concern. And I would just like to open it up to the town council members, just find out what everybody's feeling is on the situation.
I'm not sure what stand on their own really means. So give me an example of what that means.
So a phase, in however it's split up, let's say they split 68 homes into groups of 10 and the first 10 of the models, and RTG builds the first 10 homes on Avenida Vasquez. That's the closest road. But they've rough graded everything up to the water tank, and they've put a water tank up there, and there's some water pipes. Maybe the water main, the 12-inch water main only run, again, I'm speculating here, but maybe the water main runs through the eastern part of the project to come down the hill to Avenida Vasquez to feed water to those homes. And they've got a roadway in there, and maybe some dirt road up to the water tank. It's not a made-up road. What I think the county is saying is, if you give them the permit to do those first 10 homes, and it's a water tank and some water mains and some sewers and storm drains, that you have to assume, I think, stand on the own means, if nothing else gets done, we've got to be able to adopt that particular piece of infrastructure into our civic infrastructure for storm drains, sewers, roads, etc., on the basis that none of the rest of it ever gets made. So the other 58 homes in the other phases never happen. And I think that's the most concerning thing, because you could potentially end up with a bunch of graded pads on the side of the hillside and no homes ever on them.
So if they were to break this down into 10 homes per phase, it they would just have be required to have the storm drains, roads, septic, storm, all of that just for those
Just
10
for the 10.
homes.
Yeah.
That's a big problem because that's it, and it was LA County who said that they need to stand on their own.
Yes.
Well, in my opinion, it's already been broken into different phases. And phase one is this first phase that included the 68 homes. And we were under the impression that there was going to be dry sewers that would connect in to the wastewater treatment plant. I think that's the big concern, at least what we were told as far as the town council's concerned. We were told by the developer that they wouldn't have individual wells, they would have city water, and that they would have a wastewater treatment plant and nothing would be on septic systems.
Correct.
Well, I can't imagine building the wastewater treatment plant for 10 homes. So it seems to me that once they reduce the amount of homes, it sounds to me like they intend to put in septic systems, which was promised to us that was not going to happen. So that's a concern, and as far as I don't think anybody likes to see a project rough graded or prepped, so to speak, and then walked away as it just decays and erodes away with the weather conditions that we have out here.
Yeah.
So, the point is that the county knows this also, and the county knows that phase one was the first phase of potentially a larger project, and it was kind of like this will be your first step toward completing the project, which included the wastewater treatment plant, and I think equally as important was the other access that was going to go to Sierra Highway.
Mm-hmm.
And that would create the secondary access needed for fire protection and needed for vehicular traffic. But I'm surprised that the county is even considering the smaller phases, because they've already broken it up into different phases as I can see it. What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, phase 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1. Whatever.
Yeah.
And death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, to me, to use an analogy, this is like owning a Rolls-Royce Phantom and taking it into the shop and saying, could you just put like 2 tires on it because I can't afford all 4?
Mm-hmm.
How did you buy the Rolls-Royce to begin with if you can't afford the tires when they need changing?
Yeah.
And there's something seriously not right about this.
Yeah.
I mean, the developers reaching out to members of the council, trying to, get us to get on board with it. I know that they've reached out to other members of the council to see if they can have private meetings with the council outside of a forum like this. And we've told them, if you want to meet with us, you come to these town council meetings. There's an awful lot that's inappropriately not right here. And I don't know what the county's doing. I mean, it's just reckless what they're up to at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's my understanding that I believe the name is Artash, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be talking tonight at the open forum portion of this meeting, and asking if there's any questions. Obviously, it seems to me like there are a number of questions, and as I as I see it at this point, they need to make an actual presentation as to what their game plan is. I know that last meeting that they had regarding the horse trails or whatever, that got thrown together. I mean, as far as I know, it was like maybe 6 hours notice before they're going to have the meeting. And then they're disappointed because only 10 or 12 people show up. Well, I think there needs to be adequate notice made, whether it's to our June meeting, July, August, September meeting, whatever it may be. Something needs to be created to where they can make a presentation and then field questions from the community as to what their concerns are. And that's my opinion as far as coming from a member of the town council. What's everybody else's feeling?
Well, I think they've already done damage more than a small piece of the 10 or phase one pieces that you're talking about, Chris. I think the bond is extremely important, having protection for the community. I mean, they've cut the heck out of that hillside. If any of you, I mean, driven by it and looked at it, it's plenty of room for 10 homes plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I suspect what we'll see, and we won't see it until after it's done if we don't, stay on top of the county. But once they split it into phase 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3, if history repeats itself, RTG will be saying, look, if we build all 68 homes, you want us to bond $14 million of civil infrastructure for the sewers, the water tanks, the pipes, all the rest of it. And now we're only going to do 10 of that. So we want a 90% discount on the bonding. So LA County, the person who's probably getting the strokes from RTG, will turn around from them and say, yeah, okay, here you are, give us a check for $100 and you can go off and bond it and do your, version 1.1 of the project. So I have every expectation that as this, plays out, the financial requirements for this to be done properly will just come down and down and down and down, as we saw on the 20-inch water main that went in on Sierra Highway and Valley Sage Road. And I'm with Cliff. I mean, I don't. There is just so much wrong with this. You can't show up to a presentation to the council and expect us to believe what you're saying anymore. You owe money to everybody who's touched the project. You won't pay up until you realize that you can't do any more until you do. And you clearly don't have the financial resources to deliver this. So what are you really doing in our community? And what are we going to be left with?
Originally, didn't they want 300 homes and now they're going down to 10?
Well, no, I'm using 10 as a representative example. But if they split the first phase of 68 homes up into smaller chunks, then it could be 10 homes, 20 homes. It could be six, or it could, I mean, we don't know because we haven't seen anything from the county that tells us what's on the agenda here.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So at this point, let's see. It looks like Cindy's hand is up.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Does this go down as like piecemealing, Cliff, or piecemealing to put it all together? I remember in that very first state water board meeting that we were in, that was a really big deal, that they kept saying, we're not piecemealing this together. But now it seems like little by little it's being dwindling down to these small little phases. And doesn't that go down as that terminology? And is that really even a legitimate way of creating this development?
Well, that's really a question for the community group to pose to their lawyer based on this new information, Cindy. I don't purport to be an environmental or real estate lawyer. I don't play one on TV, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So that's a question for them to answer.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure kind of where to go with that. It just sounded like that's what they were trying to do. So
yeah, I mean, certainly the crux of the issue is whether splitting it down to smaller modules is outside the scope of what was agreed to when the project was approved in 1994 and reapproved in 2007.
and the current state of where they're at now.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you cut, you cut 5 acres and you're going to put 5 plots, that's fine. You cut 100 acres and put 5 plots, that's a different story.
Yeah, well, they've got 168 acres, I think, for the first 68 homes. But I think separately, I'd like to know the council's view on whether we write to RTG with a cease and desist and say, stop using our good name to promote your sham here.
I think
No, they haven't been. They came to one town council meeting. Mary, what was that, about a year and a half ago?
It was November of 2022.
Okay, so a year and 7 months. I'm sorry.
Or maybe it was it 21?
21.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got the reply in August of 22.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So go ahead.
The only way I would go along with phasing is if that phasing triggers a CEQA revision.
Produces what?
Triggers a CEQA.
Oh.
Where they have to redo the EIR again.
No.
But I because it looks like they're trying to, Public Works is facilitating keeping them on track so that doesn't happen.
Bingo.
And determine what RTG can actually propose without requesting something else. I want them to propose something outside of the approved entitlements, and I want that CEQA revision triggered. But I don't know. This is when I look at other developments, this is just so slow and wrong, and I look at what's happening down there at Sand Canyon,
Skyline Ridge.
Yeah, these developers get it. They put in all the infrastructure and it's done. These guys have been diddling around for years, and we're still in the rough grading.
And they're using old approved permits. It's one of those things where if I change my plans at my house, then doesn't that mean that I have to resubmit, or I have to start over, or I have to adjust everything, as opposed to going off of things from, I'm not sure what's the year, 96 or
92.
Earlier?
92 is when this was originally approved.
So it's like, okay, I make a bunch of changes. Guess what? Stop, restart, do it again, and now you're current with what's going on with the county and the standards.
Well,
okay, Chris, have you gotten a response on the septic plans? Have they?
Yeah, so like I say, a couple of days ago, I got the disclosures, or the first batch of disclosures, and I asked for information about what's going on with Hunsaker for the pumping station and the water tanks, and also for the sanitary plan for the system. So I haven't unpacked those yet. It takes about a day to read. I mean, there was 80 documents in this lot that went into this, and then you've got to break it down into a chronology that people can follow along with, and get rid of the weeds so we can see the trees. So I'll do that by the time we meet in June.
Okay. So how does the developer get approval to do these, the next?
So what has to happen? What has to happen? And if you remember a couple of months ago, I said that the on-site water system was still in plan check. So they'd thrown a water system plan out, and we looked at some of the maps of that in the last meeting, and you can see the 12-inch mains and the transmission mains and all the other good stuff. That goes into public works, and there are different parts of public works that approve the road plan versus the sanitary sewer plan versus the storm drain plan and the water plan. And they look through it, make sure it's compliant and properly conformed before they issue the permit on that. And we know this from what LA County have said. There's a calculation about what the cost is, labor-wise and material-wise, of building out that particular water system or sewer system or whatever it is. And that results in a bond calculation worksheet, and then the developer has to go and get a security bond for that amount of money. Once they've done that, then they get the permit from the county to start the work. So for these sub-phases to go along, they've basically got to take the water system plan, the sewer plan, however they've put it together, and split it up so that it then stands in its own right. And that's not an insignificant civil engineering, drawing exercise. Then they've got to put it in front of the county and get the county to approve it. And that takes many months. I mean, the county's still working through a water system plan that they were given initially in 2021 and were 3 years later. So it could take many, many months, if not years, for these sub-plans to come through. What concerns me is that the county is just keeping, it's like they're playing their cards right here. They won't tell us what's going on. And every time we raise a legitimate question, they just bullshit their way through it. Excuse my French.
Yeah. So do we think that writing another letter, I mean, to me, it seems like we got responses from our letter writing. We got a meeting from our letter writing, but did we really get the truth? I think is
well, here's the rub, Don. I think the right time to write a letter is when we've got a couple more bits of the jigsaw puzzle. So we've got the bits of the jigsaw puzzle now that tell us a lot more than we knew a month ago, which was the subdivision of phase one and the reasons behind it and who's owed money and all the rest of it. Now we want to look at what's going on with the water tanks, pump station, and the sewers. And that's what the sewers is probably the most important one, because if they build this thing without dry sewers, they are way out of what was approved in 1994 and 2007. And that would be something that the community group could take to the courts and do what they need to do with. So I think a few more weeks of analysis of the document. I don't think we need more documents. We'll probably get a few. It might create a few questions that we don't have answers to, but I think we'll have sufficient information by then to write to the supervisor. Because when we've written to the supervisor and she's farmed that out to these divisional heads to answer, and then we've been in these meetings and we've been told one thing, and then we go look a little bit closer and it's completely untrue. I think the supervisor, Stephanie said 2 years ago, probably, mark my words, the supervisor would be incredibly upset if she found out she was being lied to by staff. And I think that's what we're building up to here. We're going to put that letter together that spells everything out and says, look, this is what you said at the time. This is what we've subsequently found out. This is what's going on. This is why we're so concerned. And then she can choose to do with it what she wants. Does she want to take action? Is she just going to farm it out for another round of flim-flam? Or does it go out to a lawyer at the same time and the lawyer says, oh, no, sorry, you can't do this. Answers Cindy's question about whether it's legal or not to partition it up like this, whether they can build it without sewers or whatever they may be doing.
Right.
And then start that ball rolling. So I think we're probably midsummer to write that letter. I don't think it's disadvantageous to be not writing it at the moment, because I think the more factually based arguments we can make that are irrefutable, the more likely it is that the county's wiggle room within those departments who've been enabling this will be limited.
I agree. Okay. Any more?
I just wanted to say, we really do need to address this RTG letter that Chris got today. That has to be addressed.
Yeah, because they haven't talked to me other than trying to find out when we had our meetings, and everybody knows where our meetings are. And, but there hasn't been a formal writing requesting to be agendized that we've looked at because we're talking, it's going to take 2 or 3 months to get it to where we've got a particular meeting set aside for them to do their presentation. But at this point, for them to make a statement like that, I did not receive. Did anybody else receive an email like Chris received? Let me put it out. Everybody's here.
No.
I did not.
Chris is the chosen one.
Oh, that's it. So,
but it's not even signed. It's it's info at RTG. It's just it's wrong. Yes. It's wrong on so many levels.
But if you look at what the purpose of the horse trail meeting was, for whatever reason, RTG is running around trying to get community support letters from different parts of the community. I don't think they counted on people like Pam Walter and Jackie Ayer showing up to that meeting. I know that some of the horse trail people that showed up that were pro the meeting, jeered at them for some of the questions they asked, because that's what Jackie told me when we chatted about it a couple of weeks ago. But having failed to get that traction, to get these letters of support from the community, now they're just making it up.
Yeah.
And I think they've crossed the line there as Candy says, and they should be, we should hold them to account for that. We should tell them, stop sending these letters that pretend you talk to us, and it needs to come from you, and it needs to come quick.
Yeah. Let's see what their answer is.
No, there won't be one.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? All right. Thank you, Chris. We'll wait and see what happens.
You're welcome.
And that will continue on. Any word from the Save Rural Agua Dulce Committee for our meeting tonight? I don't hear anything.
I see Glenn.
Yeah, I'm here. Marcy's trying to log in.
I'm struggling. I'm logged in. I
can hear Marcy in the background. All right. We'd love to hear from you.
Here I am.
Okay. Great.
Sorry, Glenn is having technical issues so that you're hearing me double, I think. Let me leave the room. Well, this has been so fun and enlightening this evening, I have to tell you. We've been, continuing our game of whack-a-mole basically, and just, listening to what's been going on and getting any information. And every time we seem to have something that we can make a legal move on, it turns out we can't, for one reason or another. But it sounds like there's definitely some actionable things going on right now. So I will be making some contact tomorrow with our attorney and try to set up a meeting and bring to him Chris's latest presentation and all of the other information that you guys have, and we'll take it from there. Oh, I can't hear you, Don. You're muted or something.
I'm sorry. Now can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
I appreciate the effort you guys are putting together on this, and keep us posted as to what your findings are.
Definitely will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now it brings us to the president's reports. Or report. General, obviously tonight we're having our format via Zoom. Seems to be working out pretty well. We have pretty good attendance, which is great. And I think we're going to continue doing this. Our next live meeting, or hybrid meeting as it's called, is going to be in June, which it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Last time the in-person meeting went great, but we seem to have problems with our connection, and we'll just see how that works out coming up. Incoming correspondence for action. We have a couple vacant parcels in Sleepy Valley that had violations that were next to the Forest Service property. And so they're talking about donating or selling those parcels as possibly being considered. Just that is not a definite, but that is a thought. Okay. So I don't know. I can't imagine what the town council would do with that, but possibly community wise, if someone has an idea, maybe something can happen.
Chris, were you able to contact them to see if it might work out for the Sleepy Valley Water Company
Yes.
second well site?
Yes, I was. And in fact, as I understand it, they're not owned by the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. It just happens to be that one of the people who are the sort of heirs of the person who owned them is a father with the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. It looks like the grandparents went and acquired a number of properties around Southern California by doing tax lien sales. And the parcels in Sleepy Valley were acquired that way. The parents died, and now the cousins and the sons have got it, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. We've looked at it. We're going to actually walk the property and figure out whether there's anything that can be done. It's about 800 feet away from our water storage wells. The challenge is that we don't know what the geography of the land looks like, and Don knows probably as well as anyone that you've got to be able to get drilling rigs and goodness knows what else in there to be able to put wells down. So we don't have the answers to those questions yet, but we're going to take a look at it and see.
Great. Hope it's got water under it. That's number one. All right, great. So next up, we have the Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operation, otherwise known as MHKO Draft Ordinance. For details, you can go to our agenda and click on. Yeah.
What I'd like to do, we sent the letter to the MECO staff about stuff that we wanted included in the ordinance, and the ordinance has now been drafted. I haven't had a chance to really examine it, but I do know that they are requiring, if you're on a private well, or if you're not on a municipal water district, you do need to have water testing, which was one of the things that we had said we wanted. But what I'd like to do is to really go through line by line, and if there are concerns that weren't included in the draft ordinance that we had already sent them, that we send a letter again to MECO indicating that we want those items included when the ordinance gets approved. Okay. So I'll make that motion to send a letter with concerns not included in the draft ordinance, requesting they include it.
Okay. Following up with a letter that we've already drafted. And
yeah, I'll go line by line, and if it's covered, I'll let it go. If it's not, I'll point it out to them.
Okay. So I have a motion on the floor. Does someone want to second it? I'll second it. I think it's a great idea. Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor. Second.
I'll second it, Don.
Good. Okay. Yeah. We'll let them go in. All right. Good enough. So we got Scott in there for a second. Any more discussion on this? Does everybody understand in an agreement of war, or they understand what we're talking about? All right. Well, then all those in favor of doing that, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you, Mary. It's wonderful. Okay. Another duty that you have. All right. So now, public hearing, community meetings, workshop, report back from the LA County Water Plan Water Resiliency Summit presented by Lindsay Horvath. Now, she actually gave the presentation to the LA Board of Supervisors. Is that correct?
No.
Chris was there.
All right.
So
Yes,
I'm
I was.
Okay, Chris, do you have anything you want to
Um, yeah. Give me a second. Um, so it was kind of interesting. I made it in and out of Public Works alive, which was quite a win. Um, I've got to hand it to the supervisor and probably more to the head of Public Works for putting together a group of people in a room who were quite heavy hitting. You had people there from the State Water Board, Heal the Bay, the chief of the San Fernando Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, um, various senior staff from around LA County. And I think that the bottom line is that this LA County water plan is intended to turn the county's passive water users into water advocates. So they want to educate the general public about the water resources that are available to us and how they should be effectively using them. And obviously they've got Measure W, which they passed, which captures sales tax for these projects, but that's a couple of $100 million a year. And as they were saying, they could probably spend that every year 6 times over on the different projects that they're wanting to fund. And it ranges from regreening parts of East LA as an example to a fairly lofty goal, which is to capture 600,000 acre feet of stormwater each year and store it so that it can be used when we need water in the summer. 600,000 acre feet of water is 195 trillion gallons of water. That is an awful lot of water, and they're building infrastructure to be able to move it around from different reclamation plants into different storage areas. There, I would say that as an aside, as a certified water operator, I'd be a little nervous about this because surface water, which is what they're capturing, is probably some of the worst polluted water. It's the one that you need to treat the most. And there was no real indication as to whether these 195 trillion gallons of water get treated before they get injected into these underground storage facilities, which are not, big concrete bunkers. They can be aquifers like the Saugus Formation. I'm not saying that they do it here in Saugus, but there are underground water storage basins throughout the Los Angeles area. And the EPA just came up and identified 5 forever chemicals, which you now have to treat for and remove from the water supply. So a great way to contaminate the underground water supplies is to inject surface water into them without treating it. So I think there's a lot of questions, the devil's in the details, but they then broke it out into a handful of task forces where the county is looking for stakeholders within the communities around LA to become involved in figuring out what to do about at-risk water systems. The county operates 6 of their own small water systems, which I thought was quite interesting. What to do about groundwater, how to deal with desalination. So there's different task forces that they've put together. And, hopefully there'll be some uptake from people with a voice to those working groups, and there'll be some, mileage comes out of it. But, the county is going to do their darndest to spend a lot of money educating all of Los Angeles County about the importance of their water supply, which I don't think is a bad thing at the end of the day.
Okay, great.
Maybe they could start with the Kardashians.
Great. Okay, we appreciate the report. We have incoming correspondence for notice. Regional planning plans filed. 8144 Escondido Canyon Road. Zoe International Group request for new development of a 1-story, 3,137 square foot barn, 345 square foot maintenance building, and the use of animals and equine keeping on site as an accessory use to the existing single-family residence. The original barn approval under RPP 2020-09162 expired due to lack of funding. This submittal is to have the exact same plans reviewed and approved by LA County Regional Planning, PRJ 2024-00 something. We also have 9661 Sierra Highway, otherwise known as the Pepper Creek Market and Liquor. Demo of existing convenience store and build a new 7,540 square foot single story multi-tenant retail building.
Don, I think it was Monday she sent it.
Yeah.
I got something from the planner and I forwarded it out to everybody today, but I know we didn't have enough time to get it on the agenda for tonight. So I'd like to discuss it at our next meeting. She sent a copy of the front elevation and wanted our input because with our community standards district, we have certain guidelines that commercial buildings are supposed to have. We weren't able to, the CSD was not in place when Vasquez Rocks Nature Center went in. That's why it looks the way it does instead of the way we want it. So what I'll do, I sent a copy of the elevation and I will also pull out the section of the CSD that pertains to commercial development so we can have that discussion next month.
Okay, great. After we've all had a chance to review it. Sounds good. Also some issues in regards to reapproval of expiring applications up on Cary Court and site plan review on Davenport Road. So if anybody's interested in these items, they can go to our agenda and they're all listed there. There was also one request to divide a lot into two 10-acre lots. One of the 10-acre lots, I will need to transfer or rename the owner name, which is a little odd. But I don't know that the town council is really involved in that. I mean, 10 acres is well within our CSD minimum. So anyway, that brings us to open forum in which anybody has, if they want to share something with us or share something with the council, they have 3 minutes time limit to make their presentation. And now's the time for that to take place. And I don't see too many hands up there. In fact, I don't see any hands, nor do I hear any voices. All right, good enough. So we're going to pass through the open forum. We had it, didn't have anybody recognize or wish to participate. Next up, we have the high-speed rail update. Pam Walter. Pam? No? Okay. New business, we have, well, I think the only new business is going to be that elevation from the pepper tree. Oh, hey, there we go. Looks like Candy, is that you?
Oh, no, yes, I was just waiting to do my report.
Oh, all right. So, moving on to committee reports. Election committee chair, anybody knows how Rosie's doing? Rosie, are you
oh
here
my
tonight?
God, Rosie. Rosie was back in the hospital. She was out walking her little dog, tripped and fell, took a nose plant, broke her nose. But I think she's home. But keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, definitely. Man.
She can't catch a break.
I know. Every time she turns around, something's hitting her.
Yeah.
Now we're ready for that coveted film report. Candy Clemente.
There were 7 this month.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. And of course, we follow that up with Parks and Trails report by Mary Johnson. Mary?
Okay, I had sent an email to the supervisor over at Vasquez Rocks trying to nail down the policy for equestrian use after rain. Okay. Haven't gotten back. She sent something last Sunday. Maybe it was even further away than that. I don't know. Okay. And she said, I've been busy. I'll get to it. I guess I'm questioning whether I need to get Stephanie English involved. Do I copy her, or do I just continue to wait for the superintendent at Vasquez Rocks to get back to me?
Well, so you're saying that they may have gotten back to you, or they made the promise to get back to you?
They've made the promise to get back to me.
Okay.
But
Well,
I mean, I did this after our last meeting. I think
yeah.
it was Thursday after the meeting. I sent an email off and have been waiting patiently.
I think the main question, is there a policy, or better yet, an ordinance that I mean, it seems to me like it should be in black and white based upon the amount of rain, not just someone putting their finger outside the window and saying, hey, it's raining. Okay, we got to close for 5 days.
Okay, so maybe what I do is we'll wait another month to see what she says, and then depending upon what the Vasquez Rocks policy is, we go from there.
Yeah, yeah.
That might be when we contact the supervisor.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we're kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to hear back.
Yeah, and then San Gabriel Mountains National Monument expanded by 100,000 acres, so that's a good thing for protecting open space. And then in June, we're going to have a presentation by somebody who is working to get the North Angeles National Forest Monument declared a monument. So that's coming up in June.
Wonderful. And that'll be a live presentation.
Yes.
As far as we know. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for the report. Water stewardship, Don Henry. Well, we seem to be having these rains. They've stopped for now. But up until now, it's like every 5 or 6 days, we got a little bit of rain, which was kind of neat. Everybody was able to, keep their sprinklers off if they're watering lawn, which is kind of good because that allows the groundwater to continue to store up. So we had a little bit more than normal rainfall, so we just have to wait and see what happens. The big tests come in August and September and October. So we're a long ways off from that. But right now we are looking very good. Ways and Means, Scott Keller's here with us tonight, if he has anything to report on the Ways and Means.
No report, Don.
All right. And disaster planning, Gary and Chris.
So I spoke to Maria a couple of weeks ago, and she has reached out to the head of emergency response or disaster planning. I forget what their title is down at the city of Santa Clarita. And they are very amenable to taking the Agua Dulce cert under their wing. So Maria will make an introduction to us so that we can make that happen. There were some changes last month over at the Antelope Valley cert. They have a new area commander. I think we were just one of a number of issues that they were running into with their former area commander over there. But I think from our perspective, it's probably too little too late. So we'll let Maria make the introduction to Roger, and we will see where it takes us.
Wonderful. All right. Looking forward to that.
And Mary, I haven't forgotten that I owe you a reply on that cert container inventory. I've just been up to my neck and other stuff of late.
Understandable.
Haven't had an earthquake or a tsunami. All right. So announcements. Household hazardous waste again. E-waste collection first and third Saturday of each month, 9 to 3 at the City Ranch Road waste management property. Free mattress recycling collection events, June 22nd, 9 to 2 at the Public Works Yard, which is on Sierra Highway, but it's in the Sierra Highway, Palmdale direction. Association of Rural Triangle Council's next meeting is May 29th, 7 o'clock via Zoom. Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee to be determined. Mary mentioned it's going to be June something, so we look forward to that. We can bring that up at our next meeting. Our next meeting, by the way, is June 12th. Format will be in person / hybrid via Zoom, so we're looking really excited about that. Meeting location will be at the Agua Dulce Women's Club, which if you don't know, is 33201 Agua Dulce Canyon Road. Future agenda items to include, in June, we've got North Angeles National Forest Monument Campaign for additional protection of public land. It's going to be one presentation or one agenda item. And also Public Works going to give us an update on the North County Solid Waste Collection Services, also known as the GDD. Expect that EIR is supposed to be in sometime in summertime. And it looks like we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour, but we're not quite that yet. So I'd sure entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting by someone.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay.
We
got a second? Okay, good. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. It passed unanimously. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. We'll see you in a month.
Hey.
Meeting's
Have a
adjourned.
great night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Thanks, Chris.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, everybody. Great seeing Scott. I'm ending the meeting.
Okay, good night.